Hello and welcome, it's me, LinkingX2, back again in draft review number 2 in our Africa vs T1 series. In the first one we witnessed T1 completely dismantling Africa on the macro level. Yeah, their comps were quite similar and T1 didn't really have the early power to match Africa in the 5v5 fights, but using superior brain power, big brain power from the man in the mid lane, Faker, T1 was able to get a large lead in turrets and gold and, well, use that again with even better macro around the 20th minute mark to secure early barons and just snowball the game. It is, how you say, win without fighting, T1 mastering the art of war. But before we get right into draft number 2, I again ask of you to check out the description for all the interesting links in the bio. And also, do not forget to subscribe for more draft review content. So, getting right into this one, you already see a few bans have already happened here. Freaks banning now on the blue side, the Lucian, Jace and the Aurelia. So changing up the Lucian for the Viego, which is a decent change. T1 not prioritizing the Lucian too often, but the other two picks are completely fine. You could argue that changing the Lucian with the Ryze would have been a great decision for them, but well, that's their mistake. On the other side, T1 banning the Viego, Diana and the Renekton. Renekton again, T1 valuing the pick quite a lot. Diana makes a lot of sense because the B1 first pick, Diana, is obviously very powerful and it's hard to match it. On the other side, then the Viego also being banned. Again, not too sure with that one. Not really agreeing with the power projection on that pick. But Freaks say themselves, well, Xin Zhao time it is. So Xin Zhao obviously a very, very volatile champion that can have great pop-off performances after snowballing the early game for himself and his teammates. But if that's not the case, well, yeah, he falls off quite a bit, not only in terms of his power, but also in his ability to impact team fights reliably, really. Is not terrible, right? The item changes at the beginning of this season also positively affected him. But, well, it is not the best and most reliable first pick, in my opinion at least. It gets quite hard if you look at what is being banned. So, I'm not really angry with Africa for picking this, but it could be a bit avoidable, especially with the Aphelios Thresh that they picked up in the second half for their bot lane. Obviously a very powerful bot lane, but as I often say, Aphelios is quite a champion that needs setup from the enemy team. Here, looking at T1, Ryze and Gnar being picked prior to the Aphelios pick, so you could argue that that's already working. Ryze and Gnar obviously are champions that move inwards. Ryze obviously, due to his short range and his casting style, has to move closer and forward into the enemy team, and Aphelios can make use of that. But the problem is Xin Zhao and Aphelios are already looking for different things. Aphelios is a backwards moving champion, especially with the Thresh on his side, and Xin Zhao is a dive champion. So obviously in a good team fight you want to have a bit of both, right? You want to be a bit flexible to play aggressive and defensive, but a more cohesive team identity would be better. We're going to see what the last two picks are for them, for probably the top lane and the mid lane. But so far Africa, they have power, but we have to see if their power can really align with each other. T1 also picking the Varus here on the red side, which it's a bit strange that something like that also has not been prioritized by either team in the ban phase. Red side Varus obviously super strong, and Varus against Aphelios, that's also something where Gumayushi doesn't have to feel all too bad. In the ban phase, just shortly going over it, not really too game changing. Olaf and Lee Sin, obviously other phase role champions in the Xin Zhao, and Olaf against Xin Zhao, that's not something he really likes in the 1v1 department, and with a similar power curve and playstyle, it would really not benefit the wouldn't really be something Dread wants to see. On the other side, again banning the Gangplank in the Gnar matchup, especially with Aurelia Lucian and Jace already being banned. Most standard counters of Gnar are off the table. Karma is being picked by themselves, but no one's going to play top lane Karma. And then banning the Lulu. Lulu here in this case, you might ask yourself, why ban the Lulu? Thresh is already being picked. Lulu mid lane here with the Xin Zhao and Aphelios would turn the Xin Zhao into a potential hyper, like we have seen with the Olaf in the past with Yuumi. T1 here picking up the Karma in the bot lane next to Varus, and yeah, overall Karma really benefiting their comp. They are more so short range, yes, Varus not, but the Gnar and the Ryze can really make use of the movement speed because, well, they scale really well with it, especially Ryze, right? You take face rush on him. Freak of Freaks rounding up their comp with the Tristana and the Zoe. So that's quite interesting because this would mean this Tristana top lane. Tristana top lane against Gnar. Well, I mentioned the traditional counters against Gnar are off the table. So Kiin reaching into his pocket and getting out the Tristana. Tristana against Gnar, obviously a very great matchup for Kiin. Yes, he is on the blue side layout, so aggressive behavior could be punished by the slows that the Gnar has, and Volibear follow-up, and then looking at stats and so on, we see that usually Oner is always top lane. We saw it last game. The first blood was top lane, Oner and Canna diving Kiin. So yeah, Tristana, with the nature of her kit, obviously going to have a lot of pressure, a lot of power here in the early laning phase. But then it's not as clear if she can get away with it. In the mid lane, Fly locked in his Zoe. Obviously Fly, a player that has played a lot of seasons, and well, he always had Zoe in his repertoire. Zoe against Ryze, that's obviously a matchup that, well, depends on the player level. Because if Ryze spacing is good, he can obviously control the lane quite easily. And if the Zoe players, handling of her bubbles, how would you call that? Is it spacing? Not really spacing, but her positioning maybe. If that is good, a Zoe player can also be quite decent in this matchup, but Ryze early level power is obviously coming in. What I mean here, Zoe has a potential to get back in the control after a few levels. So overall, Africa Freaks here not really having the best laning power, right? Their bot lane also against the decent, they have a decent level here with Aphelios and Thresh, but Varus and Karma, obviously two known lane bullies. And if we look here, both picked up Scorch, so both really are going all in for the laning phase, and don't really want to scale. That's a bit greedy. No, maybe not greedy, but it's a bit. Then maybe it is greedy. They think they can snowball the laning phase easily, and then finish the game before Gathering Storm would have been good. Anyway, I would assume T1 bot lane has to control. Faker also, especially in the early levels, and then looking at his recent performance, is going to be quite great in the mid lane here. Top lane, as I mentioned, it will be always a 2v1 for Kiin. If we look at Oner's pathing. The question is, what is Dread going to do with the high priority Xin Zhao pick here? He does have set up in the mid lane with a Zoe bubble against the Ryze, who's always rather close to her. And in the bot lane, well, yes, he has some setup with the Thresh, and yeah, he can also get lanterned in. But if you look at the map layout here, where it's here, you can see that the T1 bot lane has the safer layout here in the bot lane. And well, they also have flashes and so on, and stealing time from Dread for a flash, that is also worth. As I mentioned, Xin Zhao, if he gets rolling, he is quite good, otherwise he will have quite a few problems. So overall, Africa Freaks, they are a bit more conditional here in their comp, right? They need to get top lane rolling, need to secure a good lead for Dread. Later on, also, as I mentioned, their comp is a bit, yeah, bit divided, right? Dread is the only champion really moving forward. Kiin as an AD carry, yes, Tristana can always jump in, but she really likes to kill the enemies instead of Goomba stomping them or starting with a jump, right? So an AD carry that's more moving backwards. The bot lane already mentioned that, and well, Zoe obviously is the champion of a few different playstyles. It is entirely possible for her to play more laid back. Here we already saw, or well, you didn't really saw, but a Freak of Freaks securing the first blood, obviously very nice here in the top lane. It's a easy setup, right? Push in the waves and then dive with Xin Zhao after getting the early buffs in the level 3. There's very little Mini Gnar can do, but still important to do this play for Africa here. Is it enough? No, but it's the first step here to secure the early game leads they need. T1, in contrast, they can chill, they have good team fighting, they have also the possibility of split push. They have a bit of an issue against the longer range of Africa, but they have the shields of Carrier, and well, they have Faker Realm Warp as an engage tool. It's not the best, but it is something. A Realm Warp, a Gnar, and a Mega Gnar and a Volibear into the fight certainly can help. So T1 is not really chanceless, but here in the earlier stages they're a bit more on the back foot, simply because, well, Volibear doesn't really do too much on its own, and well, most of the lanes are, well, not going too well as of now, but everything is fine. The player state, the player gap here is really helping T1 in most cases. If we just look at the CS numbers here for a bit. So overall, I'm quite happy with T1's draft here. Freak of Freaks, I think they got something nice. They got some spice, and if you're, in my opinion at least, the weaker team, getting something spicy like Xin Zhao early game pick, like Tristana top lane, I think that's something you have done something right. But the question is now, will we see each other in game number 3 or just next week? That's obviously the question, and either way, I wish you all a great time. And if you had a great time here with me, then please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It really helps a lot, supports the channel, gets the videos out there, and yeah. And in that context also, if you enjoyed it and don't want to miss any more draft reactions and reviews, might want to subscribe to not miss out. That's it though for today. Wish you all a great day. See each other around.